From all walks of life, people show us examples of where you can begin. No matter where you are right now, whether it's in a different part of the world or in a specific phase of your life, you can start. Even with limitations, whether it's time, money, or resources, you can start. And what's important to see is not just where you start, but where you can eventually go, what you can eventually become. These stories, these testimonials we hear from others give us something powerful. They allow us to not only imagine that success is possible, but to believe in it. If others have walked this path, if they've taken those steps, learned those lessons, and developed the right skills, then why not you if they use their imagination and faith? If they persisted through the challenges, then the same success that happened to them can happen for you. That's the real power. You have the ability to see. You have the ability to hear. You can understand, reflect, and evaluate. Those abilities are incredible gifts. The ability to believe that something is possible, the ability to look at someone else's journey and think, could that be me too? That's where it all starts. When we hear these stories, we often wonder, how does that apply to me? And that's the key. We have the ability to evaluate what we're hearing and apply it to our own situation. Maybe you're starting with limited time, maybe just part-time while you keep your current commitments. Maybe you're starting with little capital. But no matter where you're starting, the important thing is that you can start. You have the power to begin right where you are with what you have. Your ability to see things, to use your mind to comprehend, to visualize the possibilities, that's a tremendous gift. And your ability to listen is equally powerful. As the old saying goes, faith comes by hearing. It's in listening to the stories of others, hearing their journeys, that your imagination is sparked. And imagination leads to something even more powerful, faith. Faith is not just seeing the potential. It's believing that you can turn that potential into reality. When you hear testimonials of people who started with nothing, maybe even deep in the hole, and worked their way out to success, it stirs something inside of you. That ability to imagine your own future, to have faith in your ability to create it, that's the beginning of real change. If others can start from nothing and build something, so can you. If they can believe, you can believe. If they can try, you can try. And if they can fail and try again, you can too. The path may not be easy at first, but if you keep at it, your skills will develop, your confidence will grow, and one day things will get easier. If any of us can do it, then you can too. The power is already within you. You have the incredible ability to develop the disciplines that add real value to your life. Think about the skills you can cultivate: the discipline of learning how to sell, the discipline of learning how to attract customers, how to build and maintain a solid customer base. Those are crucial skills. And then there's the discipline of learning how to recruit, how to bring the right people on board, and build a team. All of this, my friend, is within your reach. You have the power to learn and apply these skills. And it doesn't stop there. You can develop the discipline of serving your organization well, understanding the needs of the people around you, learning how to communicate effectively, how to organize the people you brought together. You can learn how to keep in touch, to maintain those relationships and make them stronger over time. Every one of these disciplines is within your personal power, and they all contribute to your success. Now, I want you to think about this a little more than maybe you have in the past. There's no reason, absolutely no reason, why you can't have all the business you want, all the success you desire. This year could be the year you make a dramatic shift in your life. And by doing that, you'll affect not only your life, but the lives of those around you, the people you want to help, the people you want to touch in the years to come. One of the key lessons I learned is that your income, your success, is determined more by your philosophy than by the economy. Now, that was a revelation for me. Once I understood that, I realized I didn't have to work on the economy. The answer was simple. I only needed to go to work on myself to make myself more valuable. And that's a game changer. So let me share a few things with you, starting with the most important, your personal philosophy. Your personal philosophy is like your internal guidance system. It's the foundation that shapes your decisions, what you choose to do, what you choose not to do based on the information you take in, what you learn, and what you know. It's the lens through which you view opportunities, challenges, and life itself. Maybe 5 years ago, your personal philosophy was to avoid attending seminars like this. Maybe you thought, that's not for me, or I don't have the time. But something changed along the way, didn't it? And here you are now attending, learning, growing. Somewhere along the line, your mindset shifted. You started thinking, if I just get one good idea, one nugget of wisdom, it'll be worth my time and money. And now you see the value in that. That little change in your personal philosophy, that decision to invest in yourself by attending seminars, by learning from others, has already started to make a difference. And once you realize that just a few ideas can have a tremendous impact on your income, your personal life, your relationships, and your overall success, you'll start to see how powerful a shift in philosophy can be. The key to unlocking your potential is right there in your personal philosophy. It shapes your future, guides your decisions, and ultimately determines the level of success you can achieve. So as we move forward into the 21st century, ask yourself, what philosophy will help you cash in on the opportunities ahead? What small adjustments in your thinking can lead to big changes in your results? Because once you start to work on your personal philosophy, the rest will follow. Now, here's something we all need to understand, just how valuable a change of mind really is. A shift in your thinking, a new idea, that's what personal philosophy is all about. The more we learn, the more we grow, the better equipped we are to make the kinds of decisions that shape our lives. Personal philosophy helps you navigate two crucial aspects of life: avoiding dangers and seizing opportunities. For your notes, number 1, your personal philosophy helps you identify the dangers. It helps you see what could go wrong, where the pitfalls are, so you can steer clear of them. It's like a warning system that keeps you from making costly mistakes. But here's the other side, and this is just as important. Your personal philosophy also helps you see the opportunities. It opens your eyes to what could go right, where the possibilities lie, so you can seize those moments, expand on them, and make the most of them. And that's what life is really all about: minimizing the dangers and maximizing the opportunities. We call it the game of life. And the better we get at it, the more successful we become. The more we learn, the more experiences we gather, the sharper our personal philosophy becomes. Whether it's from attending seminars like this, listening to a great sermon on a Sunday morning, reading a powerful book, or simply reflecting on our experiences, we're constantly fine-tuning that guidance system. Every time you gather new knowledge, every time you gain a new insight, you're making adjustments to your personal philosophy. And that adjustment allows you to minimize more dangers and maximize more opportunities. That's the essence of the game of life. And it really doesn't get any simpler than that. So what's the key? Number 1, we're affected by what we know. The more we know, the better equipped we are to handle life's challenges and capitalize on its opportunities. But how do we learn more? How do we gather the knowledge that helps us keep fine-tuning our thinking? Here's the first way: learn from personal experience. One of the most powerful teachers in life is experience. And often the best way to learn how to do something right is by first doing it wrong. That's right, messing up, making mistakes, getting it wrong. Because when you make a mistake, you feel the consequences. You say, wow, that was costly. I'm not doing that again. And in that moment, you learn, you adjust, you improve. So one of the best ways to learn how to get it right is by first getting it wrong. Don't be afraid of mistakes. They're part of the learning process. They're part of developing your personal philosophy. Every mistake is a lesson. Every failure is feedback. And with each lesson learned, you become better at navigating the dangers and maximizing the opportunities in life. Sometimes what seems like a negative experience can turn out to be one of the most positive turning points in your life. They say if you survive your first heart attack, you might live to be a very old person. Why? Because that heart attack, if you survived it, is what they call a wake-up call. Imagine this: after that first heart attack, your doctor tells you one more of these and it could be your last. Suddenly you're faced with a decision. And what do? You make a beeline for the health food store. You start reading every book on nutrition, researching how to avoid that next heart attack. You start jogging, you start walking, you overhaul your entire lifestyle. That total change could very well save your life, extending it far beyond what you might have thought possible. Now, here's what my mentor told me, some of the best advice I ever received. He said, Jim, if you will change, everything will change for you. If you start making personal changes, your income will change, your health will change, your future will change, everything will change if you're willing to start making the changes. And that's the key. Sometimes it takes a negative experience to push us into making those vital changes in our lives. It forces us to shift our thinking, to make a sudden adjustment in our philosophical guidance system that says, I'm not letting this happen to me again. That wake-up call could be the very thing that sets you on a new path. Now, beyond learning from our own experiences, there's another valuable way to gain wisdom: learning from the experiences of others, both positive and negative. It's a shame, really, that people who fail in life don't hold seminars, because their experiences are just as valuable as those of the people who succeed. Wouldn't it be fascinating to sit down with someone who's messed up for 40 years and say, tell me everything you did wrong, and I'll take notes? A guy with every opportunity, a great family, all the potential in the world, yet somehow he threw it all away. Now, there's wisdom in that. If you could learn from his mistakes, you wouldn't have to make them yourself. And that's the power of learning from other people's experiences, especially the negative ones. So here are the two primary ways to learn. First, you learn from your own experiences. You mess up, you pay the price, and you learn the lesson. But second, and equally important, you learn from the experiences of others. Whether they succeeded or failed, there's always a lesson to be found. If you want to live a dynamic, successful life, if you want to multiply your income, your opportunities, and your future, be a good student. When a good idea comes your way, write it down. Think it over, study it, and then take action on it. Your personal philosophy, which shapes your life, comes from three things: what you learn, what you know, and what you observe in others. So how do we learn from other people? Here are three ways. Number one, learn from what you see. One of the most important things you can do in life is to pay attention. Just by watching closely, you can pick up valuable clues. Success leaves clues, as they say. If you observe the winners and the losers, the people who are succeeding and those who are struggling, and you take good notes, you can make adjustments in your own life based on what you see. Number two, learn from what you hear. Listen to the voices of those with experience, wisdom, and valuable insights. But be a selective listener. Tune in to the voices that matter, the voices that have credibility, the voices that have credibility, the voices that have walked the path you want to walk. Those are the voices worth listening to. And number three, read all the books. Now, you can't possibly read every book ever written, but here's the thing: read all the books you need to read to become the person you want to be. Whether you want to be wealthy, healthy, successful, or unique, the knowledge is out there. Read the books that will make you as successful, as prosperous, and as extraordinary as you want to be. Don't let those books go unread. They could hold the very ideas that change your life. Let me tell you a story about how I started my library. It was my mentor, Mr. Schaff, who nudged me in the right direction. I've now got one of the finest personal libraries around. Now, here's the thing: I haven't read everything in it yet, but just being surrounded by those books makes me feel a little sharper. It's like walking into a room full of knowledge. The key, though, is I was wise enough to start buying those books. Now I've got to take it one step further and be smart enough to actually read them. And after that, I've got to be wise enough to figure out which ideas are worth holding on to, and most importantly, start putting them into practice. But here's a critical point: become a good reader. It's one of the most valuable skills you'll ever develop. Some of the books that turned my life around were recommended by Mr. Schaff. Of course, one of those is the Bible, full of wisdom and timeless stories. Thanks to my parents, I was a decent student by the time I hit 18, and the knowledge I gained has been an incredible resource throughout my life. The stories in those books about people who made it and those who didn't taught me the difference between success and failure. It's not just about learning facts, it's about drawing lessons from the lives of others. There were other books that shaped my thinking. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, that one opened my eyes to the power of mindset and belief. Then there's The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clason. That book had helped me reach financial independence by the time I was 31. But trust me, it's a must-read if you're serious about getting ahead. Here's what I did after I started reading those books. I didn't just absorb the knowledge. I made sure to attend the classes, listen to the speakers, and seek out people who had something good to share. Surround yourself with wisdom. And one of the best pieces of advice I ever received was from my mentor. He told me to start keeping a journal. He said, don't rely on your memory. If you hear something valuable, write it down. At first, I scribbled notes on scraps of paper, backs of envelopes, anything I could find. But it didn't work so well. Those notes would get lost in the shuffle. Then I learned the importance of keeping a proper journal, something bound and organized, a place where all my insights could be captured and saved for the future. That's been a game changer. Because you see, it's not just about gathering knowledge, it's about remembering it, reflecting on it, and then using it to improve your life. That's where the magic happens. As you go through life, whenever something catches your attention, a poem that moves you, a powerful idea from a class, or even an article in a magazine, make a habit of writing it down. Don't let those valuable insights slip through your fingers. Instead, capture them in your journal. Keep a good journal, and don't just do it for a month or a year. Commit to keeping it for the rest of your life. Trust me, this habit will serve you incredibly well. I've done it for years, and my journals are now a significant part of my personal library. And let me tell you something. If you were to walk into my library and see those journals, you'd have no doubt. You'd look around and say, now this is the library and these are the journals of a serious student. And you'd be right. It's no wonder I get invited to speak and share my experiences around the world. People value that kind of dedication. And I want the same thing for you. I want you to build up that wealth of knowledge, those captured moments of insight, so that you can revisit them, reflect on them, and let them become part of the foundation for your own growth. So that brings us to the heart of my first subject, personal development. This is where it all starts. And here's the principle. I want you to hold on to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. That's the secret. Develop your skills, sharpen your mind, learn the lessons life is teaching you. Take the classes, absorb the wisdom, and let it shape you. Because one day you're going to look back and realize that everything you've learned, all the skills you've developed, were preparing you for something greater. Of course, not everything you learn will be immediately valuable. You'll have to sort through it. That's part of the process. Gather the information, then decide what's worth keeping. You'll have to refine it, make it work for your business, your relationships, your life. But the key is to start now. Start this process of personal growth, personal change. And here's something I can't emphasize enough. If you will change, everything around you will change. That's a promise. You'll never be the same once you commit to your own development. You'll keep growing. And when you look back a few months or a few years from now, you'll be amazed at the progress. Whether it's your financial situation, your relationships, your health, or your career, every aspect of your life will reflect that growth. You'll begin to see opportunities where before there were none. You'll handle challenges with more confidence, and you'll build deeper connections with the people around you. Now write this down. When you read and learn, part of the process is sorting through what's important. Not everything will apply to your situation, and that's okay. But you've got to take the time to figure out what resonates with you. Decide what's valuable based on where you are in life and your current philosophy. That's how you begin to tailor the information you're gathering to your personal growth journey. And the more you refine this process, the more your life begins to reflect the changes you've committed to. Remember, personal development isn't a destination, it's a journey. And if you commit to it, I promise you'll be amazed at how far it can take you. So read all the books. Now, what you learn, what you know, these things have a tremendous impact on the direction your life takes. But there's something just as important as learning, and that's the ability to decide. Your decisions have the potential to dramatically change your life. Every significant change begins with a decision. It's the start of a new growth period, not just personally, but in your business, your skill development, and even in the way you connect with others. Decision-making is one of the most powerful tools you have at your disposal. Think about that for a moment. You have the power to decide. And with that power comes a long list of possibilities. Whether you realize it or not, you've got a tremendous amount of personal power. I've got it, you've got it, we all do. The problem, we sometimes forget. That's why it's important to remind ourselves just how much control we have over our own lives. Now, here's something else to consider: the ability to act. It's one thing to decide, to dream, to imagine the future you want. But at the end of the day, imagination alone won't build your career. It won't grow your business or expand your influence. It's the action you take that transforms your imagination into reality. Action is what moves the needle. It's what turns ideas into achievements, dreams into success stories. You've got the ability to act. It's just a matter of putting it to work. And even if you've got limited time, that's no excuse. Make the time you have count. Use those early morning hours, your lunch breaks, your evenings, weekends, whatever pockets of time you can find. You don't need endless hours to start building momentum. You just need focused action. Use those little pieces of time to move your career forward, to keep the engine running, to maintain that momentum. And here's something else about action. It's what develops discipline. You can't learn discipline by just thinking about it. You've got to get your hands dirty, you've got to do the work, take the steps, make the moves. The discipline of communication, for example, let me tell you, I wasn't always comfortable speaking in front of people. Far from it. I'll never forget my first public speaking experience. I stood up, but my mind sat right back down. Left me hanging there. I opened my mouth, nothing came out. My knees were shaking, sweat was pouring down my face. I was terrified. That's what it feels like the first few times. But you know what? I went back and did it again. And then again. By the third or fourth time, I started to get the hang of it. That was over 35 years ago, and let me tell you, I'm glad you weren't there for that first presentation. It wasn't pretty, but I kept going. I kept acting even when it was uncomfortable, even when I was scared. And because of that, I developed the discipline. I honed the skill. It wasn't the decision to speak that made me better, it was the action I took over and over again. The ability to act, to push forward, is how you get from where you are now to where you want to be. It's how you develop all the disciplines you need for success. And here's the secret. The more you act, the more momentum you create. That's when the real magic happens. So don't just make decisions, take action on them. Don't just dream, start building. And as you do, you'll see the power of decision and action take your life to new heights. Because if you act, if you push forward, everything changes. The knowledge you gain starts to make sense, your ideas begin to bear fruit, and your dreams, they become reality. That's how it works. Decide, then act. And watch what happens. Let me tell you, the confidence I have now after all these years of practice is something I could have only dreamed of when I first started out. But I earned it, and you can too. By consistently acting on my desire to improve my communication skills, I built that confidence brick by brick. And here's the truth, you have the ability to do the same. You've got the power and potential to create a career that serves you, not just for a season, but for a lifetime. You have the ability to build an enterprise, a business that's yours. You can be in business for yourself. You can develop something meaningful, but it all starts with a simple idea. That idea, work harder on yourself than you do on your job. This philosophy is the cornerstone that changed my life forever. It's what took me from where I was at 25 to where I am today. You see, if you work hard on your job, you can make a living, and that's good, that's important. But if you work hard on yourself, you can make a fortune. And that's even better. I was willing to work hard on my job, but for a long time, nothing much seemed to change. My life was just the same. But when I started working on myself, that's when everything shifted. I began to qualify for more, not because I worked harder on my job, but because I was becoming better. Now, here's a key phrase that could be worth the price of admission today. Success is something you attract by becoming an attractive person. You don't chase success. You don't pursue it. You attract it by who you become. The more attractive you become through your skills, your mindset, your attitude, your knowledge, the more success you'll naturally draw into your life. That's the real key. Most people spend their lives chasing success, running after it, hoping it will land in their lap. But the truth is, success is something you pull toward you by working on becoming the kind of person that success is attracted to. Now, this doesn't just apply to money or business, it applies to everything, especially leadership. If you want to attract attractive people into your life, you've got to be attractive yourself. And I'm not talking about looks, I'm talking about your skills, your wisdom, your attitude, your energy. I used to hope that everything around me would just change, that if I waited long enough, the world would magically improve and I'd get what I wanted. But it doesn't work like that. What I learned is that if I went to work on myself, then everything else started to change. If I worked on my communication skills, if I improved my language, if I expanded my vocabulary, guess what? I became more attractive to the marketplace. People wanted to do business with me, wanted to hear what I had to say, wanted to invite me to speak, because I became better each year. That's the formula. If you want to be more valuable in the marketplace, you've got to grow your value. You've got to develop yourself. That means honing your skills, expanding your knowledge, and refining your abilities. If you become better year by year in your communication, your competence, your wisdom, and your character, then the opportunities will come to you. You won't have to chase success, because success will start chasing you. The lesson here is simple but profound. Work on becoming, and success will follow. Stop waiting for the world to change for you. Go to work on changing yourself. The better you become, the more attractive you become, and the more success you'll attract into every area of your life.